Welcome back. In this demonstration, we're going to be looking at our Giacometti sculptures and how to finish off the figurines. We're going to need to make the feet and attach it to the base. So to get started, you're going to need one of your figurines, and you should have two figurines. That was the minimum that we should be working with. So if you've got more, great. If not, that's fine too. You should just have at least two. You need one ball of clay for each of the feet. Okay, so first I would say take the balls of clay, roll them into a little ball, because that'll be the best to work with. And then you're going to take these and shove the little fuzzy part of the feet into the ball of clay. Something like that. Okay, then, do the second one here. Then you're going to want to take your feet and squish them into a foot shape. I'm actually going to stand my figurine up like this, and it'll probably stick to the table as you're working. And I'm actually going to just like adjust by pinching and squeezing my foot shape into a foot. Okay, so there's my front foot. You can see it's a little like teardroppy shape. And I'm going to take this one and do the same thing and kind of pinch and squeeze to kind of adjust it into the shape of a foot. Okay. Once I've got that done, you're going to need a few pieces of tin foil just like we had before. I'm going to lay my sculpture back down, and I'm just going to take the same method that we used before, and I'm going to wrap it around the piece of clay. You want to wrap it around your piece of clay so that you pretty much cover over all the clay so that it there's no seams that the clay can squish out of, and so that it looks nice and neat. And if you can work it out, try to end your large piece of aluminum foil here by wrapping it around the ankle, and if you have enough, all the way up a little bit onto your foot. And that's going to help secure not only the tin foil around the foot, but also help secure the body to the foot. So make sure you're aware of that and try to do that the best as you possibly can. All right, now as you finish the second piece, we're going to need to start attaching this to the base and thinking about how we're going to have the two pieces of sculpture interacting with one another. Remember, we looked at when we looked at Giacometti's sculptures, we talked about how at first he started with characters or figures that were alone by themselves, kind of contemplating the aloneness of humanity, and then as he matured in his artistic style, he started looking at existentialism and how figures and humans interact with each other based on the decisions that we make, kind of in an existential kind of way. So once you get your feet done, you're going to think about how are we going to attach this to the base so it can interact with the sculpture, the other part of your sculpture. Now you're going to need something to attach it to the base with. So we're going to make these little hook shapes like this that are going to help attach the feet in. You're going to need a little 2 to 3 inch piece of wire. And when you get that wire, you're just going to take these little pliers that I'll have at your table, and you're just going to take it and bend it into a hook-like shape, something like that. And you'll need 2 of them, 1 for each foot. So there's one, and here is the other. Okay, so there's my 2 hooks. They look like little candy canes. And then you're going to take those and you're going to have to attach those onto the base of your sculpture. So to do that, you're going to need to poke 2 holes in your base. Think about where you want your feet. Notice these feet here, I have one offset from the other, kind of like if there's 2 lanes, I have one on one side and one on the other. So depending on what you want your sculpture to be expressing, think about where you want your feet. Then I'm going to open up my pliers like this, and I'm going to use the pointy end to just poke a hole for where I want the feet to be. There's my first foot, and here's my second foot. Okay, there are my 2 feet holes. You can kind of see that. If I hold it up and move my hand underneath, you can see it changes from light to dark when I move my hand through. Then you're going to set your sculpture on top. Or sorry, not your sculpture, your figure. And I missed a little piece here. I'm just going to wrap one quick tin foil fix around there. Okay. Then set it on top forever how you want it, and you're going to take the little hook and you're just going to slide it through the top of the foot. And if I tilt it to the side here, you can see it come out the bottom. And I'm going to take that and stick it through the hole that I already put in there. And then, let me see if I can turn this sideways. Okay, so there's my little hook. You can see it there. And I'm going to pull the wire underneath here. I'm going to use my finger to kind of help the hook go in to the front of the foot, and then pull it from the bottom. And then once I get it kind of pulled through, I'm going to take this wire and just bend the wire down so it can't move too much. Okay. And then my second one here, going to do the same thing. Stick it through. Stick it all the way through the foot, and then put it in the hole, and then push it all the way through. And bend it underneath. Okay, now this one's kind of coming apart. There we go. So, once you've got these two figures on your sculpture base, you need to figure out how are we going to have these interact. Right? So if I bend my camera back a little bit, you can see how are we going to have these interact. You can start bending the feet. You know, maybe this person is bending back because this person is leaning in like he's going to fall over on him and the other guy's going to catch him. Maybe this guy is totally looking the opposite direction, not even paying attention. Right? And how are you going to bend these figures and have them interact in this environment? Remember, we looked at Giacometti's sculptures and talked about how the figures interacted. Sometimes they were alone, sometimes they were walking past each other. And really, this being a sculpture, it should look good from all sides. It shouldn't look awkward, like this is an impossible way for the figures to move. It should look realistic in that sense, but in the other sense, it should be kind of questioning what's going on in the situation between these two figures. What's happening? What's the interaction between the two? You're going to have positive pieces for where you've made the sculpture and negative pieces in between the pieces of your sculpture. So try to have a balance between the positives and the negatives and how the space in between the sculptures is interacting. Okay? Think about the existential quality of humanity while you make this sculpture. And that's how we conclude our Giacometti sculpture project.